Welcome everybody to part 5 of Let's Play Castlevania. In this episode we're gonna get mauled by flea men, or hunchbacks, whatever you call it. Again, more kick-ass music also means difficulty gets ramped up quite significantly, as Stage 5 is pretty much the most difficult level in the game in my opinion. Not really just because of the flea men and the skeletons throwing bones at you relentlessly. There's a couple of other enemies later on in the game, and the placement's really dickish, more so than the ones you've seen in the past two stages, which were quite honestly child's play in compared to what we're about to see in the final two stages of the game. Enemies, as you can see, will now hit 4 bars of damage instead of 3 bars of damage, effectively meaning you have 4 hits, otherwise you're dead. And you got to be really careful with conserving your energy, especially for the bosses in this stage, because if you don't get timing right with the boss of this stage, it's not going to end well for you. So it does take a lot of practice to actually get this one done right. I remember as a child playing through this is where I always managed to get stuck, just because of the sheer difficulty of this stage and the boss at the end, and a couple of things which we'll elaborate on later. One of which is actually coming up now. This room with the axe knights, one of them will come with a flea man at you. The best way to get these things is, if possible, hit them with holy water. If not, just... it's really a patience game. Sometimes you'll be lucky and the game glitches out and you can push them off the screen. But these knights take several hits and are very unrelenting in which they throw axes at you. There's no real way of telling which way they come. Also be careful of that axe drop, because you're going to need the holy water against the boss. Believe me with that. But yeah, it's just kind of awkward going up the stairs and the axe is coming at you, and more than likely than not, you probably get hit if you're very inexperienced at that game. That is one of the more difficult stages of this level. The difficulty does drop off a little bit in this little section. There's just really a whole bunch of blood skeletons, and I think there are a couple of axe knights here, but it's nothing too serious to worry about in comparison to, like, the first stage. I kind of feel it's kind of like a double-decker sandwich. Like, you got this hard bit at the start just because of the flea men coming at you unexpectedly. Then you got that bit with the axe knights, where they introduce the axe knights at you, and then there's this bit where it drops off, and there's a bit between that where difficulty drops off. And then there's a bit at the end which is incredibly difficult, which is actually the most difficult screen in the game in my opinion. Yeah, the music here, really kick-ass actually. This is my favourite track in the game. If you could already tell, that was pretty good. It's iconic Castlevania music, maybe more so than the first stage level. I always think of this particular track when I think of this game in terms of music. Got more bone pillars, again, really not too much to worry about. Also, the level design, very similar-ish to stage 1, maybe a little bit better designed, I guess, in the castle itself now, but I do prefer the darker sort of styles of the stages in the second and fourth levels better than this one, but it does its job, I guess, in terms of saying, like, look, we're in Dracula's old-ass castle. Like, this room here I do like in terms of level design, but it is the pain-in-the-ass room that I hate. This is probably, in my opinion at least, the hardest screen in the game, just simply because you got Medusa heads coming at you in both directions, and then you got axe knights throwing axes at you, and it's a very difficult pattern to learn. Like, the best thing you do is just try to take them on one by one, try to dodge the Medusa heads while throwing holy water at the axe knights, and then you just really have to worry about Medusa heads coming in one way. When you get past that first part of the screen, where then the Medusa heads won't come at you the other way. It does make your life so much easier. But coming into here, this is death. I'll be honest with you, chances are I probably wouldn't be able to beat death normally without having to lose most of my sanity, so I'm going to cheese it. Normally what would happen, there's a whole bunch of spinning scythes coming at you, and you gotta dodge them while throwing holy water at him. Holy water is the weapon of choice. I've never actually beaten him without the holy water, so if someone is able to do that, please, by all means, you know, put a video response in or something, I don't know. Anyway, like, if you do know how to cheese death, death is actually probably very easy, but in my opinion he's the hardest boss in the game, and next episode we're going to be taking on Dracula himself, so good night everybody.